Hello, Crystal Palace. Welcome to the Upper Norwood Library Hub's live lunch. This is intended as a way of keeping the community connected, sharing positive and inspirational stories and useful information. So my guest today is Emma Hammond, who is a local resident and a dressmaker. Emma, it's lovely to have you with us. Tell us
Thank you very much.
It's great to have you. Tell us a bit about how you got into dressmaking.
Yes, I had always loved clothes and I loved shopping, and my mum was a huge clothes. Like every memory that my mum has is associated with what she was wearing, and that was the environment that I grew up in, and that still sort of continues. I can see that that's going to be, I look at photos and go, well, I know that's 2000 because I was wearing that top that came from Gap and, things like that. But she also made clothes, and my grandma had made clothes, and her sister, and things, not huge amounts, but we did it a little bit as children. And then I didn't do it at school, but I moved abroad, and fabric was very cheap. I lived in Mexico, and fabric was very cheap, and it was fabulous fabric quite a lot of the time. And I got a second-hand sewing machine. I had a job that didn't require a lot of my time. So I had quite a lot of time to kill, and so I would make clothes for myself, and I did that for a couple of years, then came back to the UK and didn't do any sewing at all until my second child was born, and I needed something that took my attention away from my children and put it back on me a bit, frankly. And it was helped because a local shop opened that sold beautiful fabrics and a few patterns, and I saw a pair of trousers in a catalogue or something, and I thought, well, surely I could make those. And so I bought some fabric, bought a pattern, and made some trousers. And then it just got a bit out of hand, where I was just making things for myself all the time, and there's only so many, even I have to admit, there's only so many clothes you need and what you can possibly wear, especially when you factor in the school run and everything else, that there's only so many things you need. And so I had an idea that I would like to make things for other people, and partly because of living in Crystal Palace and it being a lovely community and everything. And a friend of mine, I bumped into one day, and I was wearing a jumpsuit, and she said, "I love your jumpsuit." And when I told her I made it, she said, "Will you make it for me?" And I made a version of it for her, and she wore it to her brother-in-law's wedding, which was just a huge confidence boost, and really wonderful that someone will wear something that I'd made to such an important event. And then and we chatted about it, and I thought I would like to hold events at my house that were kind of like Tupperware parties, where people could come and try on clothes and look at fabrics, and then have something made for themselves in the fabric of their choice, so that they get something that A, fits them, but B, is unique, because obviously if it's a fabric that you have chosen, then and there are lots and lots and lots of fabrics in the world, and you're not going to be walking around the triangle wearing something that someone else is wearing.
Yeah, lovely. And this is stitches and seams, right?
Yes. this is stitches and seams. So yeah, and I've kind of been doing that now for just over 2 years. And in fact, I was supposed to, I think I had an event planned the Friday before we went into lockdown, and then there was one due on the 1st of May. And obviously that had to, even though they're not large events, they're sort of 8-10 people, but obviously you can't, well, yeah. That's not an option anymore in today's world.
So what are you mentioned about sort of you can get something that's unique and in a fabric of your choice, but what else are customers looking for when they go to somebody to make something special for them and go to a dressmaker rather than buying something from a shop?
Different people are after different things, I would say. Some people find it difficult to find something in their size or a particular style, that, you know, whether it be that just can't buy off, like go to the high street and buy something because they, you know, they're not a standard, what the industry calls a standard shape or size. Some people want something special for a wedding or an event, but some people just want something that they can wear again and again, that they love. I think a lot of people, when they go shopping, especially once they've had children or have children with them, it's literally, what can I pick up that I put on, doesn't make me look hideous, and I can go home as quickly as possible, and that I can put in the washing machine and so I think spending a little bit of adult time in with other women, because I only make women's clothes, with other women in a social setting is a very pleasant experience, and B is investing in yourself. So you're investing in, there's the time it takes, because it can take me 4 to 6 weeks to make something. I mean, it obviously doesn't take that long, but with other things on as well. And the whole process, if you choose the fabric and then you come and have a fitting, or you are invested in that, and so that item of clothing becomes important and valued. And clothing, I think, should be valued and should last a lot longer than a lot of clothing. If you buy it from Sainsbury's, there are wonderful clothes in Sainsbury's, but you're just buying it with your food, or it's not a special thing. And so when you put it on, I'm not sure that you feel that special. Whereas if you've chosen it and you've invested the time and energy, but in a pleasant way, not like, oh God, I've got to choose something. If you've done that, at the end of it, you are valuing that item of clothing, and you are going to look after it, and you are going to wear it. And I think there's so much now about the environmental impact of fashion, and you can't ignore that. But then everybody needs clothes, and so sure, if you want to wear something, I think you want to know where it came from, who made it, or a lot of what it's made of, and then you can look after it properly and keep wearing it. And there are clothes in my wardrobe that are, well, now 20 even 25 years old. Now there are other things that obviously didn't make the cut, but and there's always new things, because it's still interesting and exciting to me, and fashion changes and my body changes and everything changes. So, but to go back to your question, I think it's investing, people with a dressmaker, it's investing in your time and energy in yourself for the long term, hopefully, rather than just for one event or one occasion.
And it's much more of a complete personal experience, isn't it, basically, from what you've said?
Yes, it is. It's not going into a shop and just picking up the first thing and saying, okay, it fits me, I can get it on. I mean, I bought trousers, mostly trousers where it's like, oh, they fit, so I'll buy them. They say that's because you're just so desperate for something to fit you, or just so like, and you just buy them. That you might not think they look very nice, but you think, oh well, I can get them on, I can do them up, and I can walk.
Yeah. So. And where do you get your materials from?
So the fabrics, I mean, there's so many options now online. I think when I was younger, one of the things that stopped me from making clothes was that fabrics were really expensive. And if you make a mistake, then it's really expensive. Now, I mean, there's still, obviously, you can spend anything on fabric from £1 a meter up to, I mean, I think the most expensive fabric I've made something with, which was very, very nerve-wracking, I think it was about £100 a meter. As you're cutting it, you're thinking, please don't, just be okay, because this is too, if I make a mistake, this is too expensive, so yeah. But there's a lot of different sources for fabric, and a lot of my fabric comes from a shop in Brixton called Simply Fabrics, which are very good. They hold a lot of what they call dead stock fabrics. So dead stock fabric is fabric that comes from manufacturing and that may have just been burnt or thrown away, and this way is sold on and is used. And obviously in London there are still quite a lot of small-time production units and small designers that make small runs of clothes, and they have bespoke fabrics, or they buy fabrics, and instead of throwing them away, they get sold on. And there's quite a lot of different places now on the internet or just around where you can find dead stock fabrics. Now, that means you might not know exactly what it's made of, but it does mean it, or like whether you can wash it or dry clean it, but you can get quite a good idea and a feel for it. But it means that it gets used and then hopefully made into something, and it's even more unique, because quite often, you're never going to see, once it's gone, they've maybe got 20 meters or something. But yeah, so my preference is to use natural fabrics, but there are pros and cons of different types of fabrics in their production, in their environmental impact. The other thing is that dressmaking and fashion in general, there's a lot of waste, and so trying to use as much of everything and is
reduce the waste,
really important. Yes. And so trying to so as well as clothes, I end up making, there's things like oven gloves which utilize wool and gives me a chance to do some hand embroidery. There's things like the beeswax wraps, like instead of using cling film, you're using as much as you can to to just avoid it going into landfill, because I mean there are all these figures about how long it takes fabric to biodegrade, and of things like linen break down very quickly, cotton a bit longer, maybe 6 months. But then if you have everything that's got polyester or nylon or lycra in, it's not going anywhere. And I think that realization hit me only really a year or so ago, and I think that is something that people don't realize at all. And then I'm not entirely sure how you if you're operating on a budget, the option, it is the quite often it's the cheapest thing. And I think that's so, I don't know, but so just trying to use as much of stuff as you can and use it for as long as you can, and mending and repairing, and that if you can, I think that's just a really small thing that you can do, and gives you pride in your clothes and makes you feel better.
Now is probably a good time for us all to be honing our sewing skills.
Yes.
Mending skills.
I at the beginning I took 2 pairs of jeans from a friend and fixed 2 holes, and I did this, I mean, even 2 years ago I gave away a pair of jeans that had a hole in, and now all my jeans are mended, because denim is another terrible thing for the environment, because of the water needed to create to grow the cotton, and then the treatment of the denim to make it soft and supple. And so you definitely, and denim is hard wearing, so you can fix it and it can still look cool. And
cool. Going on to kind of what you're actually doing at the moment, so in terms of the lockdown, you've been making scrubs and masks and things.
Yes, so quite near the beginning of the lockdown, a friend sent me a link and about making scrubs, and it was about a group called Scubhub, which I think started in Hackney by the 4 women, and when they realised that there was just a chronic shortage of scrubs for people, more people were wearing scrubs and needed to be able to change quickly and safely, and needed more pairs of scrubs, so a top and a bottom, so that they could take them on and off when they were going in and out of work. And so I emailed and they got back to me, and it's been really, really well organised. I mean, quite amazing, really, where local businesses, for example, Stag and Bow, who are a shop in Forest Hill, they have been cutting fabric, so that there was a pattern. They're cutting fabric on not industrial size quantities, but sort of 20 layers of fabric at the same time, so that you can cut out
yourself at home anyway.
I mean, to cut something out for me sometimes takes longer than it does to sew it together, and you need space, and you need a flat, massive surface, and it can, when you've got 2 children at home running around, it's not such a good thing. So, but they had a local business cutting it all out, and then other volunteers couriering the packets of scrubs to sewers round here and Peckham, and then you got 2 sets to sew in 48 hours, and then another courier would come and pick them up, and obviously it was all done on the social distancing, leaving things on the doorstep, and then going back to the hub and being distributed. And I think in this particular area, the scrubs are going to Kings and Lewisham. And so far I've done 8 sets. I think it's shifting slightly because whether it's the government or what, but the larger manufacturers have started to be employed, which is what the NHS needs. I mean, me making 8 sets, it's like, yes, I feel I'm doing something, but yet it's a drop in the ocean of,
Yeah.
And so going forward, I think they're looking at how to go forward. But yes, it does make you feel that you are doing something.
And there's probably a lot of people who are doing small amounts. As you said, it's a drop in the ocean, but if lots of people are doing it, then it's
exactly. I mean, and I think it does make you feel part of a community, which is lacking a bit at the moment. You're on your own or in a very small family group, and therefore, yes, it's good.
Yeah.
But yes, the other thing that I'm doing is making face masks. I was approached by a client of mine to make some, and it's a great way of using up fabric. And it means, and it again, there is a lot of debate about how effective they are and things, but it makes people feel secure, and if they feel that that's what they want to do. I think I read something about the disposable masks, the amount of plastic again that is being, if we all wore them and generated, is just it's just obscene. And so this fabric masks might they're not the same as surgical masks obviously, but on a day-to-day basis of social distancing, and so but they use fabric. They look, you can have a personality if you want. And so I've been making them to sell, but for every 6 masks I donate to the local food bank. So which is, so far I've donated £100. So again, it's like hopefully every little bit helps.
Definitely.
I think.
Definitely. Yeah. So we're almost out of time, actually. So I think the most important question following on from that is, how do people get in touch if they would like a face mask or some oven gloves or some?
Yes, please. I do like my oven gloves. They're very tasteful, and with all the baking.
And I'm assuming that what you're wearing right now is one of your own creations.
Yes, it is. I particularly, me and my daughter picked this out this morning as a good option. You can get in touch. I have an email which I think is put on the bottom of this, stitchesandseamscp@gmail.com, and I'm also on Instagram. I'm not on Facebook, and I don't have a website, but please feel free to email me. That is probably the best way, or send me a message on Instagram, which is Stitches and Seams CP for Crystal Palace. Because without Crystal Palace, I wouldn't really have this opportunity, I don't think, really.
Yeah, it's a good community.
Yes. It is.
With that, if anybody wants a face mask or oven gloves or clothes or anything else, get in touch with Emma.
Yes, and the clothes are harder at the moment. Making clothes for someone is a bit of a contact sport, but going forward, I will still hopefully be here doing this. So
Brilliant. Cool.
That would be great.
Well, thank you so much for coming to have a chat with us. It's been really lovely.
Well, thank you. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Yes, thank you. You too. So just moving quickly into the rest of the live stream program, I'm sure everybody who's watching, you know that we have a really big program of live stream events through the Upper Norwood Library Hub Facebook page, and today we're also on YouTube and Instagram, I believe. So please do check it out. There's lots going on: mindfulness and meditation, children's stories, singing classes, live music, edible garden, cross stitch, talkioki, and all sorts of things. So please do check it out. If you would like to support the Library Hub a bit further in this time when the venue's shut, there is a link to the side of the video under the description of how you can become a supporter. We obviously really appreciate that. And I have one other Crystal Palace update, which is that Antonio at Kappa Catcher Fine Food, who is under normal circumstances found every Saturday in the Haynes Lane Market, I saw an update from him that he is this week doing free delivery to Crystal Palace. So I did have a delivery of cheese a couple of weeks ago, and I'm about to order some more. He's one of my regular stopping points in the market. And it also does various kind of dried meats and olive oil and all sorts of other things. So yes, if you are looking for something along those lines, this week he is doing free delivery, so do have a check. That's Kappa Catcher Fine Food, and you'll be able to find the link through the Crystal Palace Food Market website as well, I think. So that's all from me for today. Thanks again, Emma, for coming to join us.
Thank you very much for having me.
It's a pleasure. So enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you tomorrow. Hopefully we have Kate Gilbert, who is a public speaking and presentations coach, coming to talk to us, also a local resident. So hope to see you at midday for that. Okay, have a lovely day. Bye for now.